All right, how well you do today is based on how well you've done the last 2 days. We're just building one more step in. So we have figured out how to find the equation of a line based on certain characteristics. The first day we knew a slope, or else we could easily find a slope. And finding the slope's not a big deal, hopefully, because we did that in chapter 3. And you knew the y-intercept. Yesterday we found a way to figure out the y-intercept. And usually it was based on a slope and 1 point on the graph. Today we're going to find the equation of a line based on 2 points that the line runs through. So let's say you have this picture, and I want the equation of this line. Okay, so I know I'm hunting for something that's going to end up looking like this. I can get the slope based off the graph, or I could do the slope formula if I'd rather do it that way. I know the slope is definitely negative. I'm going downhill. See, I'm counting by ones. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the rise, 2 for the run. I know my slope's -2. I'm going to put a -2 in for M. And then I've got 2 points on this graph. Yesterday I only had 1 point on the graph, and so I definitely chose that 1 point. Well, today you've got 2 choices. Pick the one you like the numbers better on. Let's say I pick 1 and 2 because I'd rather have positive numbers. So I'm going to let my X value be a 1 and my Y value be a 2 because I don't know what that y-intercept is, but this will let me find it. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and now I have the y-intercept. And if I want the equation of the line, I need a slope and a y-intercept. And I'm done. Okay, so this one, there's no picture. Well, that's no big deal because you know how to find a slope this way. Here's our slope formula. So if I take my second y, 10, subtract my first y, 4. Remember, the y's are the second half of the point. Second x minus my first x, I'm going to get 6/2, which is 3. So now I've got a slope value. And then I'm going to pick the point that I like the looks of best. I personally like 1, 4 better than 3, 10. So I've got an x and a y. And then the question is find the equation of the line. So I know the y value that I'm using is 4, when my slope is 3, and the x value that produced that 4 was a 1. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Now I've got the b, the y-intercept. So if I'm filling in for y equals mx plus b, m is 3, b is +1, and then I've got this equation of the line. Okay, write the slope-intercept form of a line. Here's my 2 points. It's going through those. So if I do the second y, -4, minus the first y, which is -1, second x minus the first x. All right, I'm getting -4 plus 1 over an 8 plus 4. That's -3/12, which will reduce to -1/4 because I got my slope. Pick the point you like better. These numbers are slightly smaller. Oops. So I'm going to let that be x and that be y. So my y is -1 when my slope is -1/4 and my x is -4. All right, so a negative times a negative, definitely a positive. 1/4 of 4 is just 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. There's my b. Y equals mx plus b. Plus a -2 is just -2. Okay. All right. Sometimes you'll see it written this way, and it looks confusing. It is not. A linear function is anything that can be written in that form right there. You've got a function g. That's supposedly the name of the function. G of 2 is 3. That means I plugged in a 2. I got out a 3. G of 6 is 5. I plugged in a 6. I got out a 5. Those are just the 2 points on the graph. So if I want the slope, remember slope formula so you can see it. second y minus the first y, second x minus the first x. Slope's a half. Pick one of the 2 points. These numbers are slightly smaller. Let's pick those. Y equals mx plus b. Half of 2 is 1. Subtract 1 from both sides. There's b. There's m. So if you just wrote it like a regular old line, y equals 1/2 x plus 2. But they're saying call it function g. So remember, f of x is g of x is whatever of x. Works just like a y. So it's just you write it that way instead. Okay. Write the equation of the line passing through these points. Okay. Again. Second y minus first y. Second x minus first x. Oops. I get 0 over 8 plus 4. I get 0 over 12. That's just 0. Ooh. So if I wanted to, I could continue with this same old method. Pick an x and y. Y is 7 when the slope is 0 and the x is 8. 0 plus b is just b. Y equals 0x plus 7. Nobody needs to see 0x. That's just y equals 7. Okay? Or you could have gone, ooh, horizontal line. Horizontal line running through either of those 2 points is y equals 7. And technically, you could have just looked at it right there and said, ooh, -4, 7, and 7. The only way it runs through both is if it's horizontal. And the equation of that horizontal line is y equals 7. This one, again, if I were just, here's my 2 points. Let's get our slope. Second y minus the first y. Second x minus the first x. Hopefully you see what's about to happen. That is undefined. So my slope is undefined. Remember, the only time slope's undefined is if it's a vertical line. So if I went to 8, -7, or 8, 3, either one of those, and run a line through it, that's the line x equals 8. Okay. All right, and then let's do another one right here. Second y minus first y. Second x minus first x. There's my slope. Pick a point. Ooh, if there's ever a 0, I'm picking that one. Y equals mx plus b. 14 is 7/3 times 0 plus b. B is 14. There's the equation line. Do you notice how you could have saved yourself the trouble of this right here? Think about what that looks like on a graph. Over 0, up 14. Isn't that automatically a y-intercept? So if you had just thought for a second about the problem the way it's written, you could have gone straight to, oh, b is 14. Yeah, I didn't need to actually calculate it. I just know it. So keep that in mind. It'll save you some time. All right, this one we got a fixed amount is deposited into a bank account every week. Okay, so down here we got the number of weeks. Up here we've got the account balance. So basically what this is showing, in 2 weeks, there's $52 in the account. In 4 weeks, there's $82 in the account. So it says use those 2 points to calculate the slope. So if I take my second y over my first y, minus my first y, over the second x minus the first x, I'm going to get 30 over 2, which is 15. Okay, so now think about this. Rise over run. The rises are in dollars. The runs are in weeks. So it's 15, think of it, 15 over 1, $15 per week. So the slope was 15. That answers that question. But what it means is that $15 gets deposited every week. That's our rate of change. It's going to go up by 15 bucks once a week. Find the y-intercept. Okay, so we know what the slope is. It's 15. We've got 2 points to pick from. I'm going to pick 2 and 52 because they're smaller numbers. So if I take and go 52 is 15 times 2 plus b. And I subtract 30 from both sides. B is 22. So there's my y-intercept. But what does it represent? That means if you had 0 weeks go by, there were $22. So that means your opening balance was 22 bucks. That means when they started this savings account, those 20, you just automatically opened up and put $22 in. And then every week after that, you're going to add $15 to it. So find the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line representing the situation. So we said slope was 15, y-intercept's 22. And then how much money would you expect in 6 months? So if there's 4 weeks to a month, that's about 24 weeks worth. Now, it might not be right on the money because, there's either 30 or 31 days to a month. Well, maybe we should think of it that way. 6 months is half a year. So 365 divided by 2. That's 182 and a half days. Let me double check my arithmetic. Yeah. And then 182 and a half days divided by 7 days in a week. I don't feel like thinking that hard this morning. I'm just going to punch it in. It's me being lazy. If I can find my calculator. There it is. 182 and a half divided by 7. So it's about actually 26 weeks, which makes more sense. Let's not do 24 weeks because there's 52 weeks in a year. This is half a year. This is a much better way to do it. So it's about 26 weeks. So if you said X is 26, then what's Y? 15 times 26 is 390. So you could expect to have about $412 in there in 6 months.